You're tuned to Planet Vero Radio. This is Patient Partners. I am Cindy Schwartz. We are broadcast on iHeartMedia and also podcast on Spreaker. My co-host Jeannie Rollo's with me from Indiana. She's on live stream. We're talking today on how do we police, or how do doctors and hospitals and facilities and offices, on and on and on, literally police their own people, so patients know that each person that you come in contact with in that office, that facility, is there for the betterment of the patient and not there for their own benefit, their own doctor benefit, their own nurse benefit, however you want to label that. How do we know? How do these things happen? I was talking with an RN this past week, and I said, I'm totally confused about some of this stuff, that you really should be able to trust any doctor that you go to, any nurse you go to, for the large percentage of it. Certainly, it's never going to be 100%. And I don't care what avenue you work in, lawyers, doctors, electricians, plumbers, truck drivers, waitresses, there's always those kind of other people. But how do we know as the patient? Because we blindly trust going in for care, and it's not like you can go to somebody else, you can to another doctor, but how do you know? So she said to me, a lot of it is the administration for these different facilities, and that's why the good doctors and whatever leave, and ones that maybe, in their opinion aren't as good of doctors as far as their care and their ethics remain, because they're, I don't want to say cahoots, but they're in alignment with what the administration is doing. And, if the administration is lax, then the front of the house is going to be lax. And it's just like you've heard it all before, where good management breeds good employees. So there you go with bad management. What does that do? So Jeannie Rollo, what do you think about all this stuff?
Well, I think a lot of times within the organization, they know who's good and who's bad. And I think a lot of times, from what I've read, they do nothing about it until they're forced to. And that is usually by some patient being harmed or a patient filing a complaint. I know that in several of the sexual abuse cases by medical doctors, most of the people around, their peers, knew what was going on, but they did nothing. Mm-hmm. So, I don't have any faith in their self-policing. To me, they only seem to do it when they're forced to do it.
Right. Well, I'm talking about self-policing as like a legitimate kind of thing that, you really do kind of look out for the benefit of the patient or the customer, if you will, because that's basically what we are any longer, are customers to these different organizations, these different facilities and whatever, doctors, nurses, whatever. Where's our avenue? I mean, I'm just so frustrated with this when she said that to me, and I'm like, wow, but does it work? I mean, how does the patient know? We're trusting. We're trusting.
Well, we don't have an avenue, actually. I mean, as far as I know, there's no real concrete way for a patient to file a complaint and to actually get something done about it.
Mm-hmm. In
because
theory,
most of the time, mm-hmm. It takes hundreds and hundreds of patients to be harmed to get anything done at all.
In theory, we do. I mean, in theory, we do. That we talk about, they talk about, you have patient advocates, you have risk management, you have the administration, you have the office administrator, you have joint commission, at the upper hand of that. You have all these kind of things. For the listeners, if you've ever tried to navigate those layers of patient help avenues, I don't even know what to say, Jeannie. You and I have talked about this for 5 years now, and they don't work. We're here to tell you that from our instances, they don't work.
No, well, a patient advocate works for the hospital, so their first duty is to protect the hospital, not to protect you, the patient. They have to figure out how to get you not to file any complaints. That's their main job. And, their first job is is to protect the hospital from you, because the moment you say I had an issue, you kind of become their enemy.
Well, that's my experience with it.
Yeah,
that was my experience with the hospital in Orlando, Florida. Risk management was the same thing. I mean, they'd keep me on speakerphone, and I'm talking from personal experience. This is my personal opinion. They'd keep me on speakerphone with umpteen people in the room to try to discern what exactly it was. And I know this because of questions they asked me, what exactly it was that I thought I was going to sue them about. And I wasn't looking, and I'm not looking to sue anyone at all. What I wanted to do was have better care, and I wanted somebody to explain to me why, as a lung cancer patient, I was treated the way I was treated at that facility when they had sent out all of this marketing, and that's all it was, paraphernalia, if you will, to sell me on going to that specific hospital in Orlando and having that specific doctor on how they were world class. You know, somebody bought a thesaurus. They were world class. And at that time, I didn't know anything about that. I took them at face value because I trusted every doctor that I ever went to, not knowing in naivety that you couldn't trust some of them, and that some of them were just in it for whatever their own personal goals were and other things, which I'm not going to mention on the air, because I've just been so stymied with lawyers and whatever telling me blah, 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 blah. You know, you can't say this about this doctor. You can't say that about that doctor. Okay, but it's okay for you to lie to my face. In essence, you know, that's what we've talked about, in my opinion. I mean, that's what happened to me. And so it's just frustrating because it does seem like unless you get into the situation that we've been in, and hundreds of thousands of people that we've talked with all over the world, actually, we don't have a leg to stand on.
No, we don't. I mean, we're told differently, but when you're faced with reality, you'll find out that you don't have any leg to stand on, that there's really no one there to protect you if you've been harmed. You'll find that out real quick.
Yeah. And again, for the umpteenth time, it's really, really sad for the people that are in the healthcare industry. They're in the medical field, and they are 1,000% ethical. They're 1,000% in it to help patients. You know, they totally believe what they're doing. They're trying to do the right thing by people. But when you come across some of this other stuff, it's like hitting a brick wall. And it's very frustrating, and you cannot get media, you cannot get your attorney generals in your states. We've tried it all. You cannot get all kinds of organizations that say they're there for the patient to get involved and try to solve some of this stuff. And, you know, I guess maybe I'm just venting now, but it's just amazing to me that we are all victims of this stuff, and how do we turn it around? If we can even turn it around with the high price of what we're paying for health care. You read it in so many headlines in the United States, and the poor care that we're actually getting. It's crazy. It really is crazy, and it's I don't know what the answer is, Jeannie.
Well, I don't either. And the other sad thing is those within the healthcare system that try to blow the whistle on some of this that's going on, then they become blacklisted, they become bullied, harassed, they'll maybe lose their jobs. So it's very hard, even for the ones who are ethical, who want to speak up, for them to speak up.
Yeah, you know, you remind me of that was just the recent, I know, I hear you, of the recent case with the overthrow in the Supreme Court and Roe v. Wade, you know, turning that over, and how those justices were being approached at their houses and whatever. That's what's happening. You know, that's what has happened to some of these people. And I don't know why they're called whistleblowers. To me, they're trying to help people. They're trying to help society. And why they're victimized and villainized is just a craziness, because at the end of the day, well, they're not by us. They're by the system. This stuff is happening because at the end of the day, they're trying to do the right thing. I mean, they don't want to see people get hurt or killed or, you know, I was going to say worse, but what, you know, maimed and have to live 40 years of their life like that. It's just crazy. So I'm going to say you've been listening to another aspect of Patient Partners, and please stay tuned to Planet Vero Radio.